In 1943, America wasn't watching the Super Bowl, it didn't exist yet. Baseball ruled the country, and somewhere in the middle of wartime America, a strange penny appeared. Chapter 1 1943 A world at war, a penny out of place. The world in 1943. 1943, a year carved into the bones of history. The world was burning, nations were rationing metal, sugar, gasoline, rubber, even hope. Factories that once made cars now forged tanks. Copper was pulled from the hands of civilians and redirected into bullets, shell casings, and communication wires. America was fighting overseas and sacrificing at home. And in the middle of this global storm, a single copper penny slipped through the cracks of time. A penny that should not exist. The sports landscape of 1943. What America watched. Before the Super Bowl, before the Seahawks, before the Patriots, before football became a billion-dollar empire. In 1943, America's heartbeat was baseball. The New York Yankees dominated the World Series. College football bowl games were the closest thing to national events. The NFL was small, quiet, overshadowed by the war. The Chicago Bears won the NFL championship, but few outside the cities even noticed. Sports were a distraction, a breath of normalcy in a world collapsing under the weight of war. And yet even in stadiums, the war was everywhere. Players left teams to enlist. Games were played with reduced rosters. The country was holding its breath. The sweetness of 1943 candy in a rationed world. Sugar was rationed. Chocolate was rationed. Candy became a luxury, a treasure. The most popular treats of 1943 weren't the colorful candies we know today. They were wartime staples, lifesavers, cheap, portable, beloved. Tootsie Rolls included in military rations. Wrigley's gum spearmint, doublemint, juicy fruit. M&Ms invented for soldiers in 1941, rising in popularity. Hershey's field ration D-bar, bitter, brick hard chocolate bar designed for survival, not pleasure. Kids traded candy like currency. Soldiers carried chocolate as morale. Sugar was gold. And copper was even more precious. The copper crisis, why the 1943 penny should not exist. In 1943, the US Mint made a drastic decision, no more copper pennies. Every ounce of copper was needed for the war effort. So the Mint created the famous 1943 steel penny, silver-colored, magnetic, and prone to rust. Officially, no copper pennies were supposed to be minted that year. But a handful slipped through. Some say it was an accident. Some say it was sabotage. Some say it was a test. Some say it was a myth. But the truth is stranger. A few copper planchets, leftover blanks, were fed into the presses by mistake. Or so the story goes. The ghost penny, a coin out of time. Your coin, your mystery, your chapter. A copper penny dated 1943 is a contradiction, a glitch in history, a survivor of a world at war. It shouldn't exist, but it does. And every time one appears, it raises the same questions. Was it an accident? Was it intentional? Was it a message? Was it a mistake that became a legend? The ghost penny is more than a coin. It's a relic of a world on fire. A symbol of scarcity, survival, and the strange ways history leaves clues behind. The mystery begins. In a year defined by war, rationing, sacrifice, and survival, a copper penny slipped through the machinery of history. A coin that defied the rules. A coin that shouldn't exist. A coin that waited decades to be found. This is Chapter 1. The world, the war, the scarcity, the stage. Restaurants were very different back then. No fast food chains yet. McDonald's didn't exist. But a few iconic places did dominate the era. 1. Kraft's, East Coast, one of the most famous restaurant chains in America. Known for sandwiches, ice cream, and ladies' lunches. A cultural icon of the 1930s to 40s. 2. The Automat, Horn and Hardart, massive in New York and Philadelphia. Food came out of little glass vending windows. Super futuristic for the time. The most popular restaurant experience of the 1940s. 3. Clifton's Cafeteria, Los Angeles, a legendary cafeteria with wild-themed interiors. Affordable meals during wartime, a West Coast icon. These were the trending places of 1943. Popular foods in 1943, wartime America. Because of World War II rationing, Americans ate differently. Most common foods, meatloaf, casseroles, potatoes, cabbage, lamb, huge during the war, Victory Garden vegetables, homegrown, foods that were rationed, sugar, butter, meat, coffee, chocolate. People cooked creatively because ingredients were limited. Did people have TV in 1943? Almost no one had a TV. Television existed, but only a few thousand sets were in the whole country. TV production stopped during WW2. Broadcasts were extremely limited. Most Americans relied on radio, not TV. So the answer is, TV existed, but almost nobody had one. Radio was king. The first famous TV shows early 1940s. Even though TV was tiny, a few early shows did exist. 1. Texaco Star Theater 1940. One of the first major TV shows. Later made Milton Berle a superstar. 2. The Television Ghost 1931 to 1933. A spooky early TV show. Very primitive, but iconic. 3. The Voice of Firestone Televiews 1943. One of the first regularly scheduled TV programs during the war. But again, almost nobody saw these. Radio was the real entertainment. The real entertainment of 1943 radio. These were the Netflix shows of the 1940s. The Jack Benny program, Fibber McGee and Molly, The Shadow, Superman radio show, Abbott and Costello. Everyone gathered around the radio at night. The rules of 1943. Copper was life in 1943. It powered radios. It wired communication lines. It fed the war machine. Every ounce was counted. Every scrap was collected. Children ran neighborhood drives, dragging pots and pans to collection centers. Factories melted down wiring to reuse the metal. The US Mint had one job: protect copper. Stop using it. Switch to steel. And they did. Officially. The steel penny, America's wartime coin. In January 1943, the Mint rolled out something the country had never seen. A silver-colored penny. Light, magnetic, cold. The 1943 steel cent. It was strange, but Americans understood. The war needed copper more than they did. Millions were minted, billions even, but copper was forbidden. The Mint declared, no copper cents will be struck in 1943. That was the law, that was the rule, that was the wartime order. And yet, the first whispers, a copper outlier, somewhere between the machinery and the metal shortages. Something slipped, a rumor, a whisper, a story told in coin shops and collector circles. A copper penny from 1943 exists. At first, nobody believed it. It sounded like a myth, like a ghost story told by numismatists. But then one surfaced, then another, then a handful more. Not many, just enough to prove the impossible was real. Each one was copper. Each one was dated 1943. Each one defied the rules of wartime America. Collectors called them ghosts, accidents, miracles, mistakes. But the truth was more complicated. How could a copper penny be made in 1943? There are only 3 theories and each one is stranger than the last. Theory 1: the accidental planchet. Leftover copper blanks from 1942 were stuck in the machinery. When the presses started for 1943 steel cents, a few copper planchets slipped through. This is the official explanation, but it doesn't explain everything. Theory 2: a Mint worker's secret. Some believe a Mint employee intentionally struck a few copper cents as souvenirs. Risky, illegal, but not impossible. Theory 3: a wartime experiment. A quiet test, a trial run, a secret batch. No documents confirm this, but no documents deny it either. And in wartime, secrecy was normal. The value of impossibility. A 1943 copper penny is not just rare. It is legendary. Only a few dozen are known to exist. Some are worth hundreds of thousands. One sold for over $1 million. But the value isn't just money. It's the story. A coin that shouldn't exist, but does. A survivor of a world at war. A contradiction in metal form. A glitch in the machinery of history. And now one has appeared in your hands. The mystery deepens. If copper was forbidden, if steel was mandatory, if the Mint swore no copper cents were made, then how did this penny survive? Is the ghost penny an accident or a message?